College football just dropped its biggest update yet, but did EA actually fix the things that we've all been complaining about? That's what we're about to find out right now. I'm giving you the full breakdown of what's changed, what's still broken, and what's hopefully coming next, so stick around, especially if you're tired of getting cooked in cover 4, because I got some news for you. Now, in this update, there's a lot that we should love from the gameplay and the Dynasty perspective, but let's talk about gameplay first, because there's definitely a lot here. There's a big update overall for coverage. We're looking at hard flats behavior, so defenders can now stay closer to the line and recognize when swing routes or threats in the flat. Cover 2 Tampa, the middle defender will now get actually deeper as they are supposed to here, maintaining better leverage position against deep threats, especially from 3x1 formations. In cover 3 match, including Buzz Maple and Zone Blitz 3, we're going to have logic improvements for defenders when reacting to slot wide receivers attempting to out-leverage the defense on deep routes. And kind of the trend you're seeing here is that a lot of that sort of cheesy stuff that people have found out, they're trying to take away. And obviously there will be things that are found in this update, I'm sure, that are kind of cheesy, but at least the original stuff should be mostly going away. In cover 2 match, which is going to be including cover 6, cover 9, and then zone blitz 2, we're going to have logic improvements for defenders guarding inside and vertical routes, especially in formations like bunches and stacks. Improved defense against outside throws and motion heavy offenses is going to be great, because again, if you've played this game, when your defenders are getting cooked in those vertical routes, you already have a guy there in those bunches and stack formations, it is tough, but at least now the developers are realizing that we need some help there. And then the last 2 parts for coverage, we have cover 4 quarters against 3x1 sets. Corners and safeties now pick the appropriate vertical threat to ensure the number 3 receiver is covered on deep routes. This has been honestly one of my biggest issues. Cover 4 last year was really bad. This year it has had some really bad moments. Some things that work better than last year, but it definitely needs some TLC. And then cover 4 palms and cover 6, corners won't press by default on the trips outside, reducing chances for one-play touchdowns. This honestly is one of those things that you find yourself when you view your defensive formation, all of a sudden you see that a random guy is pressed up on the outside and then they get cooked. It's frustrating. I'm glad they're addressing this because it's one less thing we have to look at pre-snap. Blocking is definitely one of the biggest pieces here. They're talking about pass block and pass rush, and there's so much good information that I'm happy to see. In the pre-play, they've resolved issues where quarterback animations prevented players from making protection adjustments blocking the running back. In the protection menu, it'll finally close after you make an adjustment, which is just an annoying thing that's been happening. There's visual feedback changes for fixing display issues with pass block lines after hot routing the halfback. Blocking logic enhancements, though, this is really where some of the meat and potatoes really gets. They've improved recognition of stunts and loops across base, empty, and slide protections. Base protection is actually now going to be less effective against stunts, reflecting its man-to-man nature. And then blockers are better at identifying late blitzers and avoiding premature handoffs that lead to free rushers. That has been a massive issue in this game, where you just watch your linemen play matador defense or matador blocking, and the guy just runs right by. They've also touched pocket behavior, so tuning to decrease the likelihood of pass blockers staying in double teams unnecessarily, which is a big win for us. They've reduced the frequency of illegal man downfield penalties, and edge rushers now better recognize when they're being out-leveraged by scrambling quarterbacks. And then a really interesting one that I feel like might be controversial here is increased pass rush effectiveness on Heisman and All-American, and then they decrease the pass rush effectiveness on lower difficulties. I think the second one, where they decrease it for the lower difficulties, makes sense, because I felt like it was way too crazy for people that were playing on those difficulties, but increasing it on Heisman and All-American is going to be interesting. Now, assuming they have the pass blocking done to a way that makes sense and it's actually working as they intended to, this is probably not going to be a big deal. But if we still have major issues and they increase the effectiveness of pass rush on Heisman and All-American, the headaches are going to be coming still. On the run block, run shed side, they have targeting fixes, so resolved issues where blockers miss or switch targets in the open field, including on RPOs and core blocking schemes. We all have played the game where a tight end or a lineman has been downfield and they just run right by a guy that's going to be the only person you need to get, stopping you from the end zone, and we've been screaming at them. We have run game enhancements, so added logic to allow users to be able to untarget defenders on run plays using the ID mic system. They fixed bugs causing double teams to split too slowly, preventing blockers from reaching the second level. And then lead blocker logic and halfback targeting in under center formations has been improved to target the biggest threat in the open field. Again, this is what we were just talking about. This is a major thing that we've needed. For engagement and shedding logic, defenders' leverage now appropriately affects block outcomes. Defensive linemen shed blocks more realistically in short yardage situations, and edge players no longer disengage inside or take unrealistic inside angles. And then reduce defender control on block steering interactions. This one is a little weird to me. I feel like you haven't had crazy OP abilities to really steer the blocking animations as a defender, but again, with this whole system being kind of rebalanced here, let's see how it works. And then from an animation and ratings logic standpoint, defenders with big rating advantages now trigger super win animations correctly, which I'm all for that. and then fixed issues where edge rushers didn't respond properly to scrambling QBs. And from a general blocking animation standpoint, they've resolved multiple animation issues causing failure to match engagements, frozen players, which I think we've all seen a lot, players stuck in disengages, impact blocks, and animations just really playing in the wrong direction. For run fits and pursuit, tuning to improve effectiveness of QB contained defenders versus play action bootlegs, and tuning to also improve man coverage effectiveness versus jet motion, specifically for the defender to continue following the motion through the snap. There's been a lot of plays where you see your guy kind of stop in the middle, and then that wide receiver or person can get out to the edge a lot easier and have that easy pass and go right to them with a little bit of a speed boost. It's good to see this addressed early on. Now, if you're enjoying these breakdowns that I'm giving you guys and just the content in general, I'm trying to get to 300,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We're getting closer and closer, and if you don't mind just subscribing, it's literally free. It'll help me out a ton. Playbook's got a little bit of love here. They've adjusted wildcat and flexbone plays, including QB power swing, direct snap, and fullback dive logic. They split flexbone fullback toss into two types. You now have fullback sweep, which is the pin pull, and fullback zone toss, which will be the outside zone. They fixed blocking issues on rocket toss, buck sweep, and pistol PA halfback wheel plays. Buck sweep has been a nightmare to run in this game, so I'm glad to see that. Improve motion consistency across play sets and fix alignment issues in no huddle formations. They disabled playmaker flip on flexbone fullback dive to prevent broken handoffs. They added new content to Army, Navy, Air Force, and option generic offenses, including the new flex bone and wingback formations. If you're a big fan of the go-go offense, you're also going to see that they introduced the go-go generic offense and expanded air raid generic offense. They updated play call suggestions to avoid duplicate play types in the same row, which has been an annoying thing since launch. They've also added goal line sets to UTSA and made single back spread default to 4 wide receivers. They fixed the pitchman behavior on option plays and improved backside edge blocking on RPOs and play action. They've also synced play action bootlegs with their preferred runs and gave all PA walk plays inside zone fake blocking. They've improved the deep route concept to better sell the post, and they also reduced the snap delay on reload and double motion plays where the quarterback and the halfback swap, like what you see in Penn State's playbook. Now, Dynasty has an insane amount of issues here. They've added new awards, so we're going to have the Sean Alexander Award, which is given to the best freshman of the year, the Jet Award, which is given to the best special teams returner as well. They've also mentioned that to help players make better decisions when determining who to target in the transfer portal, career wear and tear is actually now going to be shown in the player module when viewing the transfer portal spreadsheet, which is huge, especially as you're getting a junior. You know, you want to know how much damage this guy's had on his career. They fixed a lighting issue that's been happening with Hawaii now, so 9 p.m. Eastern is now going to correctly be 3 p.m. local time there. There are new scheduling rules for non-Eastern time teams that ensured their games start at the correct times locally. They've added additional rules reflecting the limitations on day games in Arizona in the early fall months. They've added the team uniforms and player portraits in the full screen notifications instead of just having that weird thing where you get like part of their neck and shoulder and chest and their head. There's actually going to be a uniform there. They tune ability prerequisites to better align with positional archetypes. This feels like they maybe made a mistake here, but they say Pocket Disruptor for pure power and Power Rusher no longer require power moves, and Pocket Disruptor for Speed Rusher no longer requires finesse moves. I feel like that should actually be reversed here, but who knows? They updated the skill groups for many archetypes to ensure they have access to every ability for their archetype, especially toughness. There is going to be an exception here for the dot ability on gadget receivers for balance purposes. In rare situations, a gadget receiver can still be generated with the dot ability though. They have multiple fixes to playing style grades across various archetypes. Some of the ones they showed off here were they updated box specialists to use defensive rush yards against per game, and they updated signal caller playing style rank to use the correct ordering. Something that I specifically worked with the devs on here was giving them feedback on safeties and just how 3 and 4 star safeties for the most part were just not really worth it. And they've increased speed and acceleration for safeties in recruit generation. So again, especially 3 and 4 star coverage specialists and hybrids, so that they're really usable now instead of just being a guy that you have no interest in getting. The pro potential my school grade now properly updates after draft results and before the start of the transfer portal, which is part of the reason why Duke was actually one of the best teams in pretty much everybody's dynasty for a long time. They increased the number of players in the transfer portal who start in the open status, which should make the transfer portal a lot more interesting and sort of hectic in my opinion. A really small quality of life that I love here is that when you're in the record screen, switching between national, season, game tabs will now actually maintain your current filter, allowing you to easily view a team or conference's career, season, and game records. They updated Boise State's rushing touchdown record, Big Ten rushing yard record, and Conference USA's reception record, along with Missouri State's rushing TD records. Now for the super sim logic, they've done a couple of nice quality of life pieces here too. They've reduced the number of pass attempts for AI teams. They also increased the yards per catch for teams with elite wide receiver ones, and they increased design QB run plays to ensure that running quarterbacks really match what they're doing in the real world a lot more. They added a weekly summary notification to alert when a player is visiting that week. They fixed an issue where non-user coaches could appear as vacant in the schemes and playbook screen. They also fixed an issue where you could be unable to change a player's position after viewing their player card. There is an issue where teams' wins percentage wasn't actually included in bowl games. They also fixed a related issue where the winning season's coach stat was not incrementing properly. If you were the commissioner of an online dynasty and you were setting the player edit permission to just commissioner only, well, it actually wasn't working properly because non-commissioners could actually still edit the height and weight of players. They've went ahead and fixed that. When editing the auto subscreen, you are now going to be prompted with a pop-up asking if you want to save your changes. They updated teams' athletic facilities and brand exposure my school grades. They fixed an issue causing team builder my school grades to not really align with what you selected on the website, especially later in the season. They added a strategist archetype icon to the player module deal breaker subpanel when a player's deal breaker has been lowered due to the lower the bar ability, which is one of the most underrated abilities in the game. An issue was fixed where FCS teams showed under the ACC filter when selecting an opponent in custom schedules. They fixed an issue in staff moves where the coach module would display the coach's record with their new school as their record with the previous school. It now correctly shows 0. An issue was fixed in custom conferences where you could add a school to the conference they're already in. Custom schedules now show the correct location for neutral site games, and they added a counter to formation subs displaying the total number of subs that have been made. Road to Glory got some love here too. When adding a school to your top schools list, you will now see if that school has offered you a scholarship, regardless of whether or not they are in your top 10. They fixed an issue where offers would be given or revoked when advancing to signing day, and they reduced the amount of test readiness needed to pass your exams to more closely align with scrape by. Note, if you already have a low GPA, you will still need to get higher than scrape by in order to stay eligible. This to me was great because I feel like I put a lot of effort into getting my GPA decent in that game, but it is really difficult in my opinion, and I'm glad they're kind of adjusting this. They reduced the amount of wear and tear damage incurred from training. Medal thresholds for gap drill for cornerbacks has been reduced. Player grade widget and pause menu stats now show your total touchdowns and not just a singular category. If your quarterback, for example, rushing and passing will now show. They added player feedback notifications when exiting high school games. They added new sponsorship deals to be earned via NIL, and they fixed an issue where you could not graduate in 3 years if you were redshirted your first season. An issue was also fixed allowing you to spend energy points on leadership and brand even when those meters were actually already full. They also fixed an issue where your current school appeared as one of the schools you could transfer to in the transfer portal. But I'm going to be honest, I kind of like that because sometimes you go to the portal and you're like, I'd rather stay at the school I was at. And then lastly, for Road to Glory, they fixed an issue with Mike linebacker not displaying properly in the trophy room. Now, there were a lot of fixes that went into Ultimate Team as well. I will leave the link to the article in the description, so if you want to go check that out, you are more than happy to do so, but not really an Ultimate Team channel, so we're not really going to cover that. But we're going to jump into presentation because they did make some changes to players' equipment and uniforms. I've had a lot of people tweet me personally and say they don't like how the helmets fit on players or there's some issues with their neck. Well, they did adjust the neck length and helmet fitment on most players. They also adjusted that really weird issue where the hair helmet for players was coming out of like their back instead of the bottom of their helmet. There are new alternate uniform elements for Ohio, Notre Dame, Boston College, Tennessee, Tulane, Tulsa, Iowa State, Mississippi State, and Cincinnati. There's new updated or added home or away sets elements for Washington, Liberty, West Virginia, Toledo, Georgia Tech, Houston, Tulane, Western Michigan, New Mexico State, Temple, and Cincinnati. And they adjusted current uniform assets for Central Michigan, which is their helmet, North Carolina, their numbers, and Marshall, their collar, which people have pointed out was done incorrectly. From the audio side, there's actually a good bit of stuff here. You have increased crowd reactions to big moments, home field advantage, pre-play swell tuning for different stadium attendance sizes. They've updated crowd assets for general pregame and Road to Glory first-person runouts. Deep pass anticipation reactions updated to improve timing. Tuning on-field collision sounds. There's been some really wonky ones, so I'm good to hear that. Adjusted UI sounds across multiple modes. They also have new crowd themes for the following schools. And the new crowd themes included in this update are exclusive to which schools you were playing against and the time of year you're playing against them. And there are an absolute insane amount of schools here, so you can see them on the screen right now for the schools we're talking about, but that would take a long time to get all the way through. From a music and sound effects chant side, they added the Oregon football theme, added Mr. Brightside to Missouri. They added All Hail Washington State post Washington State touchdowns. They added music to the Vols chant at Tennessee. They added Pump It Up to Michigan after a point after attempt on the first touchdown. They updated to Good Old Song for Virginia. They added more chants for Arizona, and they added sound effects for Missouri State's Cannon. On the commentary side, they have a couple of updates here, but I'll be honest, I was kind of hoping for a lot more in this department. But they have fixes for fair catch and consistency, fixes around point after attempt follow-ups, adjustments for commentary banner frequency, and adjustments to commentary intros around ranked games. Overall, I still think commentary has a long way to go in this game, but some updates are better than none, I guess. There are new mascots coming to the game as well. So Appalachian State has Yosef, Virginia has Cavman, UTEP has Pay Dirt Pete, Memphis has Pouncer, and the best mascot of the game, the James Madison Dukes, are going to have the Duke Dog. This makes me incredibly happy. And then lastly, field art updates. They have a new Kansas waving wheat end zone design and various corrections for other field art on other teams that people have kind of pointed out that they didn't really like. There's a lot in this update, and if they can get the blocking logic done and they can have these Dynasty fixes without any other major fixes following up, I feel like this is going to be a really good update for the game. And it's one of the biggest ones we've seen in the college football game between last year and this year so far. But I really want to know, what issues are you guys still having with the game after this update has went live, or what things are you hoping are still actually fixed from the game? Because if you can leave them in the comments down below, I can get them over to the developers, and the more people that are telling me they have an issue with something or liking something in the comments, that helps me go to the devs and say, look, this is a bigger issue than you guys maybe realize. Let's get this fixed ASAP. More updates, more videos, and more great stuff coming soon. Be safe, be smart, tell somebody you love them. Catch you guys on the next one.